Hey guys, gonna go over a little bit about what to put into this lesson plan template. Had a couple of questions about it. This is the first time I've used this. I haven't done this in my previous class, but this is what Rod would like to have, so it looks like it's doable. Um, so up here you put your standards that you're going to cover. Um, the I'm going to say just go ahead and do the Michigan Social Studies ones. I mean, go to the national standards. I, I just don't see anybody ever is going to care about the national standards versus their own state standards. So go in here and find your social studies standards. If you go, let's see here, you go to the K-12 social studies standards, and you can scroll through and see what grade level you think you're going to teach, that you're doing the lesson plan for. Um, and then scroll down, figure out what time period you're doing and what era, all that kind of stuff, and pull out some of the um, grade level standards that you're going to be working on. Okay, so you start off doing some of those, or maybe you do that at the end, kind of like sometimes you put a title on a paper at the end after you've written it. Title of the lesson can simply be, if you're doing a DBQ, it could be the title of your DBQ. You figure out what actual subject course that you're doing, whether it's 6th grade social studies, 10th grade world history, whatever it might be. Put in your grade level. This stuff you're all making up, right? Again, if you're doing DBQ, your compelling question essentially is going to be your title of your DBQ. That is the question that you're answering. Common Core state standards, that you can find if you go, let's see here, do I have it up? I have several tabs open here to do this. Okay, yeah, you can go and you can find Common Core state standards, and they have state standards for language arts, history, social studies, and you can pick what grade level you want to do, and pick out which ones of those you think you're going to be covering. If you read what they are, describe how text represents information. Of course, if you're looking at documents, you're doing that. Determine central ideas of information of a primary and secondary source. You're doing that when you're evaluating documents. All kinds of these could be pulled out and put into that template that you're doing. The Common Core standards for social studies and history are pretty broad and vague, so you can pull a bunch of those in there and show that you're covering those. So you can put those in there. Your supporting questions. Let's say that the DBQ you're covering is the Aztec one that we looked at. Should we talk about human sacrifice or agriculture? Then that would be your compelling question. The supporting question down here could be things like, why did they sacrifice people? It could be, what are Chinampas, or how did Chinampas help them, and things like that. Those could be supporting questions. Determining helpful sources, that's going to be your DBQ packet. Pretty simple there. And then you get down to your dimensions and your C3 indicators. Let's see, which one did I have open for that? All right, so we get your C3 framework. I think I had one ready to go here. I thought I did at least. Maybe it's up here. Not that one. That one. Okay. So your dimensions. When you scroll down through that C3 framework, you're down to dimension 2. They have civics, economics, geography, and history, and they pull out specific parts that you're supposed to be doing. So again, if we were doing the Aztec one, we could probably talk about civic and political institutions, of how they were, capturing people and deciding who was going to die, all that kind of stuff. Probably not a lot of democratic principles going on back then. Exchange of markets, we could talk about the marketplace in an Aztec society, their economy. Do they fit into a global economy? Well, global to them versus actual global, it could be some difference there. Geographic, so in the DBQ, they do some geographic representation. They take a look and they compare the size of the Aztec Empire to, let's say, the state of Ohio, things like that. Human environment interaction, talking about how they were able to, grow several crops a year on those chinampas because of the environment. You could talk about their culture and their religion, their polytheism. I mean, you could pull a lot of these and stick them in there that you're covering. That would make sense. So for each of those things, you can pull out some questions or some standards that you're hitting and stick them in this here. Gathering and evaluating sources, list the relevant information from multiple sources. So they're doing that in their DBQ. So you come over to your Common Core again and you put, find those Common Core standards that deal with that. Puts a couple of those in there. Again, evaluating sources, you're doing that. Developing a claim, you're doing that. Make sure you just pull in those Common Core standards and just copy them over there. At the end, they're doing their writing, they're communicating and critiquing conclusions. You put in that Common Core. Describes how students will communicate their conclusion. So down here, you can decide whether they're going to do the full-out writing, maybe they're going to do the outline, maybe they're just going to talk to it back and forth. I mean, you could do that DBQ in all kinds of different ways. How do they use evidence? That's the whole process. And then take informed action. Really here we're just doing an argument paper. We're not really taking a lot of action on something that happened 500 years ago. But maybe you could have the students decide if they are writing, they're going to get to choose what's in the next history textbook for students, and perhaps that question of which one we should emphasize. Taking action would be that they need to write a letter to the textbook company or something like that to say this is what should be in the textbook next time or something like that. So you could do all kinds of things that they could be doing for this. You put their standards over here that you're getting out of that Common Core. Nope, that's C3. Again, I have so many things open here. Here's your Common Core. Again, Common Core Standards org. And then find out. So you just keep pulling out things out of here to put in there. This is definitely, as far as I'm concerned, this is definitely a exercise that you will probably never do in reality. So it's good to know how to do it. It's good to know how to break down this project. It's good to know what you're covering and the fact that you're covering so many different standards with a C3 assignment that you give. This is why project-based learning is so valuable, is because you can cover so many things with it. But in reality, I don't see that you're going to be doing this a lot in your own classroom. Talk about your assessments, whether you have formative and summatives. Just check off the ones that you think you'll be using during your unit or lesson, and then pop in down here what kind of materials you might need, whether it's highlighters, Chromebooks, DBQ packets, whatever else it might be that you might need. I know that's a real quick run through, but essentially you're using several different resources. You've got your C3 packet, you've got the template, you've got the Common Core list, and then the actual standards. You're going to need to pull these out as well. And you notice these are pulled out in geography, civics, econ, and that fits in back. Let's see, got that, developing right here. So for your C3, again, over here for the state standards, you're going to pull out which state standards you're hitting based on whatever grade level you've decided that you're going to be pretend teaching. You go down to that, you find out what their standards are. Easily you can go down and pick out some history ones or some geography or whatever it is. There's a ton of pages to scroll through to find them, but eventually you find them and you pull them out. You can copy paste those in there, whatever you need to do. It's a lot of back and forth cross-referencing. Once you get the whole thing done and you see it on this chart, it's probably going to make a lot of good sense. But it's a ton of work to do, especially if we're talking about doing it every single time that we do a lesson like this. Just being realistic with you, sorry anybody who's offended by that, but I don't see that happening to everybody every day. Again, that's a quick breakthrough rundown. We're going to take a look at some of your rough drafts or rough draft ideas, questions that you have on Friday the 20th. So, give this a good shot. Give this a good try, and try to get as much filled in as you can so you can figure out where your sticking points are, and then we'll try to work those out together. This will be our main focus on Friday, is having people ask questions about their specific lessons and problems they're having and things like that. So give it a try the best you can, and on Friday we'll discuss further. Hope this helps out a little bit at least. See you later.